The Switzerland whose complete history you can see in this video is considered by many to be synonymous with neutrality. Since 1815, this small country nestled between the most belligerent powers of Europe has not participated in any war conflict. Have you ever wondered how it was able to achieve this despite maintaining a linguistic affinity with all its neighbors? To find out, stay until the end of the video. As always, let's go back to the background. Switzerland is, as its name suggests, a confederation of cantons that formed within the Holy Roman Empire, from whom it declared its independence in 1291. Since then, Switzerland has been involved in constant conflicts, mainly with Austria, both to maintain its sovereignty and for expansionist reasons. However, this expansion was halted by France in the decisive Battle of Marignano, after which Switzerland signed the Treaty of Fribourg. This episode is considered by many as the true beginning of Swiss neutrality, as from here, the country tried to stay out of all of Europe's conflicts by promising not to expand again. Since then, it did not participate in any international conflict until the arrival of Napoleon, who turned it into the Switzerland, a satellite state that fought on his side. After the defeat of the Little Cape, Swiss neutrality was stipulated and recognized at the Vienna Congress. From here, Switzerland can boast of being an oasis of peace within conflict-ridden Europe by not participating in any international conflict again. As a sign of this political stance, the Swiss Henri Dunant founded the Red Cross in 1863, an organization ready to provide help to any human need, regardless of their race, nationality, or beliefs. Because of this, one of the inherent qualities of the Red Cross is neutrality, so its symbol, the Swiss cross, reinforces the country's neutral policy. Already in the 20th century, and despite its neutrality, Switzerland begins an expansion of its army from 1907, aware of the tensions throughout the continent that would trigger the war at any moment. Likewise, Swiss troops were constantly demonstrating war on their borders from 1910, which convinced their neighbors of the professionalism of the army. As expected, the war begins in 1914, with three neighboring powers participating from the start: France, Germany, and Austro-Umbria. So the Swiss country deploys almost all its troops around the canton of Jura on the border with France, to thus avoid a possible extension of the trench wars in its territory. By that time, Switzerland already had a fairly developed economy, being almost equidistant from the major European economic centers. The war allowed the growth of the Swiss banking industry, which offset the economic crisis that would have occurred when trapped between highly belligerent powers. During the 4 years of war, the main fronts of the conflict were away from Switzerland, so in the long run, it was able to maintain its neutrality, perhaps thanks to its situational measures, or because the course of the war did not lend itself to the Swiss territory being threatened. This led to the country being seen as a center of espionage and refuge. Among the most notable refugees was Vladimir Lenin, leader of the Bolsheviks. As we all know, the Great War was just the warm-up for its sequel, the bloody Second World War. This broke out in 1979 with the invasion of Republic of Poland. On this occasion, the Swiss forces were mobilized again, now under the command of Henry Vezin, the most recent military officer to be appointed with the unusual rank of Swiss general. By the summer of 1940, Switzerland was completely surrounded by the Axis powers, their occupied territories and their satellite states, which represented an even greater threat than that occurred in the First World War. Likewise, in this episode, there was an explicit plan for the invasion of Switzerland called Operation Tannenbaum, which was not carried out for various possible reasons that we will mention later. For this reason, Wiesen was aware that the main threat came from Nazi Germany, to which he switched from a strategy of static defense to one of organized long-term attrition. That is, the establishment of positions throughout the Alps from where they would attack possible invaders within a complicated terrain to cross. Likewise, they had organized a possible withdrawal from the main population centers towards the interior of the country, forcing the enemy to have to go further into the territory, where new resistances would await them. While in the end there was no attempt at land invasion, violations of Swiss airspace did exist. In fact, German planes passed through Swiss skies at least 200 times, so a handful of them were shot down. Despite this, Hitler's response did not go beyond diplomatic protests. For their part, the Allies also invaded Swiss airspace and even accidentally bombed the northern town of Schaffhausen, where about 40 people died, and after which Switzerland received compensation of $4 million. Despite these mentioned events, Switzerland was able to maintain its neutrality again during the Second World War. In this way, the Helvetic country once again became a center for refugees and espionage, in addition to serving as a bridge for communications between the Allied and Axis powers, with whom it continued to trade. And of course, the Swiss banking system once again benefited from being a safe and stable place to keep savings. All of this suggests that Swiss neutrality was convenient for both sides of the conflict. Now, the big question from the beginning, how did it manage to remain neutral again? As already mentioned, the biggest threat to Switzerland was the invasion of Nazi Germany, which never happened for several hypothetical reasons. First, Switzerland was not seen as a threat by Germany, which had other priorities such as England and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics campaigns it failed to complete. Had they been successfully completed, some believe that even then, a peaceful annexation would have been attempted, similar to the Anschluss towards the end of the war, since the majority of the country's population was German, that is, of Aryan race according to Hitler, so intentions to destroy and loot the country are quite unlikely. Another factor was the dependence on Italian imports of coal from Germany, so it was necessary for the Swiss railway network to remain intact. And speaking of the geographical position between both powers during their initial victories, Germany and Italy practically had Swiss territory under control, as all trade had to be established with the territories occupied by the Axis. Now, it is also important to remember the aforementioned complicated Swiss geography, which could have been a deterrent factor. In addition, it must be taken into consideration that the main window of opportunity for the invasion would have been between the fall of France and November 1940, because afterwards the weather would have made the blitzkrieg with which the Germans attacked impossible, a period after which it focused on the other fronts. In conclusion, Switzerland was able to stay out of the world wars due to various commercial, financial, deterrent, geographical, social, among other factors. Since the post-war period, the country has maintained the same policy by not joining any military alliance such as North Atlantic Treaty Organization, so it continues to shine as an oasis of stability and peace that continues to consecrate it as a synonym for neutrality. And what do you think? Do you think Switzerland will continue to maintain its neutrality? Don't forget to leave your comment, and if you liked this video, support me with a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on my networks, and if you are interested in supporting this project, any donation on Patreon where we can talk about history will be welcome. Until next time.